My last call on this part of the bill, and as I, in my first call, suggested I was looking around for arguments to decide where I would come down on this part. Let me just state for the record that I am in favour of this part. I think it was your speech that clinched it, Mr Hipkins. I think, yes, to be fair. But there were a number of excellent contributions made by a number of members that I listened to closely. But, Mr Chair, I would like to advance the debate a little bit towards Clause 79, and that is around the suspension of licence for public health or fire protection requirements. And the reason I draw the House's attention to this particular clause and its various sub-clauses is because this is a fundamental part of the health and safety. This is where a venue is deemed to be unsafe in terms of public health, or especially around fire precautions, then the medical officer of health or a member of the New Zealand Fire Service has to apply to the authority for immediate suspension or cancellation of the licence or immediate variation of the conditions of the licence. Now, this is of course the authority which is established by this bill, but which Part 4 says may as well not exist because the Minister can override every single decision made by that authority. And this is a particularly dangerous little part of the bill, because if, in the opinion of a medical officer of health or a member of the fire service, a venue needs to be shut down, but that is contrary to the Minister's opinion, and the Minister decides to step in and halt that process, we have a potential disaster zone where a venue that is unsafe could be allowed to remain open because of the power which is vested in the individual minister, who may be lobbied or may be contacted through processes other than the authority, people who choose to circumvent the process of the authority and go directly to the minister. And he may not have, I say he advisedly because we suspect we know who it will be, may not have the information available to him that the medical officer of health or indeed the New Zealand Fire Service may have available to them as well. Clause 79A refers to the suspension or cancellation of a manager's certificate. And in this case, an inspector or constable may at any time apply to the authority for an order to suspend or cancel a manager's certificate. And the grounds that this may be sought on are where a manager has failed to manage the premises or area subject to a Rugby World Cup liquor licence in a proper manner in accordance with the provisions of this part and the conditions of the licence. Again, this is where the authority must use its processes. It is required to make a decision within 24 hours. It is required to cross-examine witnesses, and time must be given to the inspector or the constable, the manager themselves, if appropriate the licensee, and I have no doubt any witnesses or anybody who is available to give evidence. But that entire process that the authority is allowed to undertake could again be completely undermined thanks to Part 4. And it is Part 4 that the opposition has problems with it, and we've been pointing this out throughout this bill. It is Part 4, but Part 4 affects Part 5, Mr Chair, because of these provisions that are in Part 5 are completely undermined by Part 4. And although I suspect this will be a personal vote as far as the opposition is concerned on Part 5, I personally am in support of Part 5. I cannot agree with the bill as a whole so long as Part 4 stays there, because although Part 5 has some excellent clauses in it, some excellent requirements on the authority, and sets up a fantastic process for the authority to maintain public order, public safety, public health, they are completely undermined by the provisions that are included in Part 4. I was, in my last contribution, I was interjected upon by the Minister Tariana Turia, and I don't want to misrepresent her, but I believe she said that alcohol shouldn't be part of rugby fixtures whatsoever. I would be interested that if she could get up and actually make a contribution to this part of the bill, because I think that if that is a misrepresentation, she needs to clarify it. If it isn't a misrepresentation, then if that opinion is held by a minister of the government, when you consider what's in this bill, I think it would actually be quite important if the minister could get up and give us a contribution on Part 5, because this is all about making sure that liquor is safely and appropriately available during the World Cup and during World Cup matches. And if she holds a contrary point of view, then I think that would be important if she could get up and make a contribution. But, Mr Chair, this is all about balance. and it's not about taking the fun out of the games.
Call Jackie, Dean.